Okay, Hare Krishna everyone. Welcome to the Thursday Learning Bhagavatam class. Hope you're all well. Today, our guest speaker is none other than Vamsi Dhari Prabhuji. Welcome, Prabhuji. And today, Vamsi Dhari Prabhuji will be giving class on chapter 14, King Purūravā, Enchanted by Urvaśī. Hare Krishna, over to you, Prabhu.
Thank you so much, Dharmendra Prabhu. Hare Krishna. We'll begin with invocation mantras because today's chapter is something else. Last two chapters, in fact, of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, chapter 13 and chapter 14, are something else. They have a full potency to transform someone's consciousness. So we'll begin with the pranam mantras. Om Agyantimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuronmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guroho Shri Yutaha Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitam He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabho Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Janmadhyasya taha अन्वयादित्रतः च अर्थेषु अभिघ्नस्वराट् तेने ब्रह्महृदय आदिकवये मुह्यन्ति यत्सूरयः तेजो वारिमृदं यथा विनिमयो यत्र तिसर्गो अमृषा धाम्ना स्वेन सदा निरस्तकुहकं सत्यं परं धीमहि सत्यं परं धीमहि सत्यं परं धीमहि धर्म प्रोजित कैतवो अत्र पुंसो परमो निर्मत्सराणां सतां वेद्यं वास्तवमत्र वस्तु शिवादं त्रापत्रयोन्मूलं श्रीमद्भागवते महामुनिकृते किं वा परेरीश्वरेः सद्यो हृदि अवरुध्यते अत्र कृतिभिः शुश्रुभिः तत्क्षणात् निगमकल्पतरोर्गलितं फलं शुकमुखादमृतद्रवसंयुतं पिबतं भागवतं रसमालयं मुहुरहो रसिकभुवि भावुकः नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयम् उदीरयेत् नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवते उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी शृण्वतं स्वकथा कृष्णा पुण्यश्रवण कीर्तनः हृदयंथस्थो है भद्राणि विधुनोति श्रुहित सतां वासुदेवे भगवती भक्ति योग प्रयोजितः ज्ञानतीयषु वैराग्यं ज्ञानं च यद् अहेतुकं यस्यं वै श्रूयमानानं कृष्णे परमपुरुषे भक्तिर उत्पाद्यते पुंसा शोकमोह भयापः. Okay, so welcome all to today's session. We will just do a quick recap. So far in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, you have reached until 9th canto, and 9th canto generally begins with descendants, descriptions of dynasties, and this is the main theme of this canto. But interestingly, this canto awards liberation, whereas the descriptions are of the dynasties. So even by listening the names of the people, by reading the names of the people born in the dynasties, we get an amazing transcendental benefit. So far we have heard of the descendants of the dynasty of sun god. And in that famous dynasty, we had Ikshvaku, and then Lord Ramchandra came, like that. And Nimi Maharaj was also described in the last chapter. And in the last chapter, when the description of Nimi Maharaj was given, there was a cursing and counter cursing that happened between Vasishtha Muni and Nimi Maharaj. And then, because of this cursing and counter cursing, both of them, they had to give up their physical bodies. So Vasishtha then was reborn from the semen of Mitra and Varuna. Mitra and Varuna are demigods. They are two brothers. And once upon a time, they happened to see Urvaśī, a heavenly damsel. And because Urvaśī was so beautiful, you know, they couldn't control their lust, and therefore their semen was discharged. But because the great Rishi Munis, their semen is extremely powerful, so the semen was discharged in a pot and it was kept collected. And from this semen was born Vasishtha Muni. It's interesting that it is very clearly mentioned in the Vedic Shastras that the birth of a being does not necessarily happen just by union of opposite sexes. There are other mechanisms by which a birth can also take place. So this was the case of the birth of Vasishtha Muni, who actually happened to take birth directly from the semen of Mitra and Varuna. Along with Vasishtha, another Rishi Muni was born. His name was Agastya. And but anyways, we will go in that in another time. So here, Mitra and Varuna, their tapasya was almost destroyed by Urvaśī because the beauty of Urvaśī. So this is the pre-context or a prelude to this session, this chapter or 14th chapter, where now we are about to begin with the descriptions, dynasty of moon god. So descendants of moon. So there are two main dynasties, the descendants from sun god and the descendants of moon god. So this is where this chapter begins. And therefore I'll recite one very key verse. I'll recite a few key verses in this chapter. And we'll come to know why they are key verses. So Shri Shuka Uvacha Athata Shruyatam Rajan Vamsha Somasya Pavanaha Yasmin Ailadayo Bhupa Kirtayante Punya Kirtayaha. So Shri Shukadeva Goswami is saying that now you have heard so far of the descendants of sun god, Shruyatam, Shrunu. Now listen from me about the descendants of moon god or Somaha. Vansha Somasya Pavanaha. Pavanaha means very purifying and very glorious. And why glorious? Because he's now taken the names of few personalities because of which this dynasty is very glorious. Yasmin Ailadayo Bhupaha. So in this vansh, in this dynasty, great personalities have taken birth, and one of them is Aila. Aila means Purūravā. So, and it is said that, if you are Kirtayante Punya Kirtaya, if you recite these dynasties of moon god, then it is very auspicious. It will give you punya or auspicious credits. So now we will in this chapter find out how glorious is this Vamsha or the Vamsha of moon god. Okay. So the story begins like this. The Srila Shukadeva Goswami, he said that in the beginning, there was Lord Brahma, and Lord Brahma, he was born from the lotus navel of Lord Vishnu. So Lord Brahma is called the secondary creator and is the first being created by the Supreme Lord. And Lord Brahma, he basically had a son by the name Atri. And Rishi Atri was as good as his father, an amazing personality. He married Anusuya, and from him and Anusuya, 3 sons were born. And all these 3 sons are great personalities. And you have already heard about the 2 personalities, and now you're going to hear about the third son in this chapter. So, who are the 3 sons of Atri and Anusuya? It is Durvas Muni, whom you heard in the beginning portion of this canto with Ambarish Maharaj, the pastime. And then there is Dattatreya. He is also one of the incarnations of God. So he's a mixed incarnation of the gunas, so Brahma, Vishnu, and Mahesh, like that. And then the third son was Soma, or moon god. And it is said that when Atri Muni was having union with Mother Anusuya, then he had tears of jubilation in his eyes. Tears of jubilation. And when you have tears of happiness or jubilation, the tears are cold in nature. And when you are angry and when you are crying, the tears are hot in nature. So the tears of Atri were cold and in jubilation. And so the moon god, Soma, he was very auspicious and very much blessed by Lord Brahma. And he actually became the director of the Brahmanas and, the different kinds of medicines, drugs, and all the luminaries in the sky. He was made in charge of managing all of these. He was the director of all the Brahmanas. Now, this moon god, he became, as he grew up, he became very powerful. And because he was, blessed by Lord Brahma, he was a very powerful son of Atri Muni and Anusuya. So he started to conquer the lower planetary systems, middle planetary systems, and upper planetary systems. And after he had done all of these conquering of all the planetary systems, he did this famous Rajasuya Yagya, where he basically proclaimed that he is now the supreme most or the most powerful demigod. And after he did this Rajasuya Yagya, he was undisputed powerful personality. And so what happens is when there is too much power, then there is opportunity to fulfill your desires unlimitedly, right? If you have too much power, you want to fulfill your desire. So one day he was roaming around in the gardens and he saw Tara. Tara, wife of Brihaspati, and Brihaspati is the spiritual master of the demigods. Demigods like Moon, Somadev, demigods like Indra and Surya, and lot of all other demigods. Brihaspati is the spiritual master. So his wife Tara, she was very beautiful, and actually Lord Brahma himself personally had given Tara to Brihaspati. He had handed her hand in marriage to Brihaspati. So she was very beautiful, and as soon as Somdev, or moon god, he saw Tara, he became very lusty, and he actually kidnapped her. And when he kidnapped her, immediately Brihaspati didn't come to know about it very immediately. And so, initially Tara was not very happy about this kidnap, but later on she knew of the prowess of moon god, and she had heard a lot of glories of moon god because he was the most powerful personality at that time in the creation, right? So everyone glorified him, for his beauty, for his prowess. Even till this day, it is said that those who want beautiful sun should worship moon god, or they should actually read the pastime of Lord Vamandev, because Vamandev was the most beautiful incarnations in 8th canto. So for bodily strength also, because moon god is responsible in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna mentions that because of moon, I am the sun and I am the moon. Krishna mentions that. And Krishna also says that moon is responsible for giving medicinal properties and bodily strength. All the taste in vegetables, somo rasva somo bhutva rasatmakaha. So all the taste in vegetables, they come from moon. So all the medicines, and so moon was very beautiful, very powerful, and so Tara became attracted to moon god also, even after kidnap. And when Brihaspati eventually knew this, he was very much enraged, And because he is the spiritual master of moon god, he immediately went to moon god and he requested him to hand over his wife. See, Brihaspati is very powerful and he is a Brahmana, but the duty of a Brahmana is not to fight. So first he, instead of fighting, he just approached and he just asked him back his wife. And it was so sinful for a disciple to actually kidnap the wife of a spiritual master. But this is what happens when too much power comes, too many avenues of sense enjoyment comes, and senses become very loose. And then people want to enjoy their senses. So what happened exactly? So here it says that Brihaspati, he repeatedly again and again, abhikshanashaha. The word is abhikshanashaha, that repeatedly and again. He Yadasadeva Guru na, so this is verse number 5. Yadasadeva Guru na yachito. Yachito means he was doing yachna. He was begging the spirit master. Yachito abhikshanasho. Abhikshanasho means again and again he's begging his disciple. Madat, but his disciple was in madat. He was in complete pride. He was completely maddened by his pride. So he basically rejected the beggings of his repeated beggings of his spiritual master. And then what happened? Sura Danava Vigraha. Sura and Danavas, there started a fight between the demigods and the demons. And Vigraha is the word used. Now, Vigraha means normally a deity, but Vigraha has another meaning, means a fight. So Sanskrit is a very beautiful language. Depending on the context and the sound and the vibration, the meanings change. So there was a great fight. Now, who is the spiritual master of the demons? Shukracharya, right? Shukracharya is the spiritual master of the demons, and Brihaspati was the spiritual master of the demigods. So there is a natural enmity between the demons and the demigods, and so there is a natural enmity between Shukracharya, who's the spiritual master of the demons, and Brihaspati, who's the spiritual master of the demigods. So Shukracharya, he took sides with the moon god because he wanted to take revenge on Brihaspati. And Shukracharya, being the spiritual master of the demons, therefore demons had to side with moon god. So see, in battle and war, in geopolitics, how people align themselves. So the moon god, who is supposed to be a demigod, is now doing all kinds of wrong activities, illicit activities, and is also going to an extent of siding with the demons, Shukracharya. And Lord Shiva, he is actually a disciple of Angira Muni. And Brihaspati is the son of Angira Muni. Angira Muni is a very famous spiritual master of Lord Shiva. So Lord Shiva was naturally friends with Brihaspati and he had affection for Brihaspati. So Lord Shiva said that don't worry, I will take your side and all my pishachas, hobgoblins will come to your rescue. And the demigods like Indra, of course, Indra's power was somewhat muted in front of Somadev because of the reputation of the Somadev everywhere. So Indra, of course, also because of dharma, but also because of, his muted glory, he actually sided with Brihaspati or his spiritual master. So all the demigods sided with their spiritual master, Lord Shiva, being affectionate to Brihaspati because Brihaspati was the son of his spiritual master Angira. Lord Shiva sided with Brihaspati and a great fight began between demons and demigods. And this fight was all because of one personality, which is Tara. So this great fight is called Taramaya Yuddha. That everyone was fighting because of this one personality who was very beautiful and was forcibly abducted by moon god. And so the fight began and it was very intense and gruesome, and Angira Muni was very worried because everyone was getting killed. Lord Shiva was using his very powerful weapons. They were as good as Brahmastra and like that, even powerful than Lord Brahma's power weapon. So Angira Muni, being very afraid that actually the whole world will get destroyed like this, he reached to Lord Brahma and begged Lord Brahma to stop this fight. And Lord Brahma intervened. He went straight to moon god and told moon god, chastised him very heavily for his behavior, and told moon god to hand over Tara back to Brihaspati, her rightful husband. So this is the difference between demons and demigods. Being a demigod doesn't mean you make a mistake. You don't make a mistake. Even even the demigods make a mistake. But demigods are willing to listen to higher authorities, like Lord Brahma. See, Lord Brahma also went to Ravana to warn him. But did Ravan listen? Ravan didn't listen. But here Lord Brahma is coming to moon god Somdev, and Somdev is now being chastised, and he's taking this chastisement from Brahma. Similarly, when Narad Muni, when Indra had abducted the wife of the demon Hiranyakashipu, Hiranyakashipu's wife was abducted by Indra. But when Narad Muni intervened and told Indra that no, you should not do this, this is not good, Indra heeded. So the demigods, they are not they're not always right. They do mistakes, but their good quality is that they will listen eventually to the higher authority. They may not listen to one higher authority, but they will listen to the ultimate higher authority. They do that. So that we have to give to demigods. So he listened and he handed over Tara back. And but the problem was Tara was pregnant. And as soon as Brihaspati saw this, Brihaspati understood. He asked Tara to immediately give birth to the child. And, Tara was very afraid. She thought, if I give birth to the child now, then after giving birth, he will actually chastise me, he will kill me, or he will give me punishment. But Brihaspati very clearly tells her that, look, you may be thinking that I'll chastise you, I'll punish you, but I promise you I will not chastise you. I will not punish you. And maybe you are pregnant because you wanted a son. And so she shamelessly, she was very much ashamed. And so she gave birth to a son. And the son was very, very effulgent, like a gold, very beautiful, very effulgent. The news of the birth of this son being extremely beautiful spread everywhere amongst the demigods. Soon the moon god came to know. And immediately, as soon as he had a sight of the son, he said, "This can't be Brihaspati's son. He's my son." So now, after the war was finished, there was about to begin another war. Because both Brihaspati forgot everything because the son was so beautiful. Brihaspati said, "No, he is my son." And Somadev said, "No, he is my son." So again, there was an argument, and all the demigods, they were in perplexity all over again. So they invoked Lord Brahma again and said, "Now you will have to resolve, because you only resolved the original fight." So Lord Brahma, he only had actually married Tara to moon god. So actually what happened, they called Tara to come in front of the demigods, and they asked her this question: whose son is this? And she was too much ashamed in front of everyone. Women are very much ashamed to answer some not so pleasant topics in front of everyone. So she was very much ashamed because of her womanly nature. And so Lord Brahma understood this, because Lord Brahma is the father. Father understands the thought process of a daughter. So he understood this. He took Mother Tara in private and asked her whose son it. Before this incident happened, Lord Brahma asking Mother Tara, the son was very righteous son. As a small child, he was very much embarrassed that he didn't know his father. So he stood up and this is a very beautiful verse. Actually, we should recite it. He says, Kumaro matram praha. Kumaro means a small boy, small kumar, a small boy. Mataram praha. He spoke to his mother angrily. Kupito alika lajjaya. Kupito means he was kupita. He was very angry with his mother. Kupito alika lajjaya. He was speaking to Lajjaya. Who was Lajjaya? Shameless person. Who was the shameless person? His mother. Kupito alika lajjaya. Kimna vasachi asadvritte. He says, why are you not speaking? Oh, woman, you are asatvitte. That your tendency is falsehood. You are falsifying things. You are at fault. And therefore you are falsifying things. Your mentality is of being asat vritte. So why are you not speaking up, oh faulty woman, oh person who does falsehoods? Atmavadyam vadasume, at least tell me I am the son. At least tell me who my father is. So by looking at this whole situation, people understood that this boy is not an ordinary boy. He always stands with righteousness. And so, at this moment, the mother was even more ashamed and she couldn't speak even a word. And so now Lord Brahma understanding everything, understanding the heart of her daughter, he immediately took her into confidence and asked her, who is your son? Tell me at least. So then she said very silently, muffled voice, he is the son of Somadev. And immediately, as soon as the word spread out, Somadev took the boy with him. Because the boy was so beautiful, so righteous, so perfect. And so this war was abandoned. So this son, because he was so intelligent and so righteous, Lord Brahma gave him the name Buddha or Mercury. So Lord Buddha, he is very righteous and he is very famous. And from him, and he got married to a personality by the name Ila, and their son was called Aila. So this chapter is called Purūravā being enchanted by Urvaśī. Purūravā's another name is Aila because his mother is Ila. So Aila, and then later on in the further cantos, you will hear Aila Gita, which I'm not going to speak anything about at this point in time. So Purūravā, his another name is Aila. He was born of Buddha. So see, Purūravā is born of a demigod's bloodstream, right? He is in the bloodline of demigods. He's not just ordinary person. And Purūravā was very, very magnanimous, very high in his character, very true to his words, very beautiful, very, very beautiful. Like his son, like his father, Buddha was very beautiful. Purūravā was extremely beautiful. His bodily luster exceeded even the demigods. So Narad Muni once in the assembly of Indra was glorifying Purūravā. See, Narad Muni has to be cause of lot of things. And Narad Muni can see he's Trikaladarshi. He's not an ordinary spiritual. He's the root of all the spiritual lines. He's Trikal, so he can see the future, right? And in Moon dynasty, it was glorified because of Purūravā. In the beginning, Shukdev Goswami is saying that now I'll begin to speak to you about the Moon dynasty, which is very glorious dynasty, because in this dynasty, Lord Krishna was born? No. He says Purūravā was born. But Narad Muni once because Lord Krishna is also born in this dynasty of Moon. Okay? But here, he said it is a very glorious dynasty, but immediately he took the name of Purūravā or Aila. Because Purūravā is, now we'll listen more about Purūravā and we'll know a little bit more. So Purūravā was born, and Purūravā, he was being glorified by Narad Muni in the assembly of Indra. See, just by hearing the glories of Purūravā, Urvaśī, who was a heavenly damsel, she was attracted to Purūravā. See, when she lured Mitra and Varuna, remember in the previous chapter she lured Mitra and Varuna. She was just passing by. She did that on purpose, and they lost their very valuable, powerful semen. So they cursed Urvaśī. Said, oh, you have destroyed our tapasya. When you protect your semen, the energy in the body increases. It is called tapa. And so because you destroyed our tapasya, we curse you that you will also become like a human, because we in your presence had to behave like human beings, like ordinary human beings. So you will also you will have habits like humans. So when she hears about King Purūravā in the assembly of Indra, she becomes very much desirous of seeing this personality Purūravā. So she comes down from heavenly planets to the lower planets. See how the chapters are connected, right? And so she comes down to the lower planetary systems, earthly planetary systems, and she comes straight into the assembly of Purūravā. And as soon as Purūravā saw Urvaśī, his meter of attraction was from 0 to like million. not even 10. He was like fully, immediately attracted to Urvaśī because she was exceedingly beautiful. And Urvaśī was also very much attracted to Purūravā. So she approached Purūravā and said that, oh, beautiful king, oh, heroic king, I want to enjoy with you. And Purūravā, he said that that you are coming from heavenly planet, and of course you are the most beautiful. Come and sit with me, and let's talk what you want, and how can I serve you, and we may be able to enjoy together. And she says that yes, who will not accept a king like you who has broad chest? See, when people want something from other people, they can only see good things in the other person. The even materially, she was just seeing only the best side of King Purūravā. In 2 minutes, we will also see, just in 2 minutes, few minutes, we will also see how she will see the same king in a very different light materially. So now she is saying, oh, you have a very beautiful chest. Which woman doesn't want to get married to you? And I will enjoy you. But here are my few demands. Can you please fulfill those demands? And before she asks these demands, she says this: Gritam me veera bhakshasyam nekshe tvanyatra maithunat vibhavasam tata eti pratipede mahamana. Verse 22 this is. Right? She says that I have these 2 lambs with me coming from the heavenly planets. Please I consider them as my sons. Please take care of them. And then she says,Ghritam me veera bhakshasyam, that I'm used to eating ghrita or ghee. Bhakshya means eating. I'm used to eating ghee in heavenly planets. So here also, you should feed me everything which is made of ghrita or ghee. My food should only be cooked in ghee. That was her second condition. First, take care of my lambs. Second, I can only eat food in ghee. And then she says, Nekshe tva anyatra maithunat. Na ikshe. That ikshe means to see. This word iksha is being used many times in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Here she says, na ikshe. She says, do not see me, or I should not see you naked. Unless tva anyatra maithunat. Unless at the time of intercourse. So I should never see you naked unless at the time of intercourse. Vivavasam, vivasam. So vasam means dress and vivasam means without dress. I should not see you without dress at any moment in time except at the time of intercourse. And pratipede mahamana. She tells him, oh, you are very broad-minded. See, when she is attracted to the king, she is telling him so beautiful words, broad-chested, mahamana. Right? So king, he was very much wanting to have this association with Urvaśī. So he nodded to all her demands. And so they both started to lead life together. And they had very much an amazing time. Many days, many nights they spent together with each other. They forgot this world. They were always in each other's association. And they enjoyed in very celestial places like Nanda Kanana gardens and Chitraratha gardens. These are all celestial gardens. These are not necessarily on earthly planets. But Purūravā is anyways in the bloodline of, heavenly kings or Buddha and Moondev. So he had access to these places. So they had very great time. And so they forgot the time with each other. They spent so much time with each other. They forgot the time with each other. And see, this whole relationship between Purūravā and Urvaśī, why did it kept going like this for quite some time is because, when you see a very beautiful person, your senses are enlivened. Your mind is refreshed, your senses are enlivened. So Urvaśī, her fragrance was like a saffron. And, very soft body, very beautiful face. Because of her beautiful face, every time he saw her, his body got enlivened all over again, like that. So he and Urvaśī, they enjoyed after a very long time. See, Prabhupada has mentioned repeatedly in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, once there is a union between a man and a woman, then there is something called as hard knot of material existence. Immediately, the man and the woman becomes very much attached to each other after the union. And there is something called as hard knot of material existence in the heart. Even if they separate with each other, still they have an affection for each other, because of this knot which is there in their heart. It's a hard knot. and it's not easy to let go of. So they both were very much tied with repeated association for a very long time. And in all of this, what happens is, now you have to understand, this is enjoyment on earthly realms, and earthly realms, 1 year is equal to 1 day in the heavenly planets, because 6 months in heavenly planets, 6 months on earthly planets is equal to 1 day in the heavenly planets. And 6 months here more is equal to 1 night there in the heavenly planets. So what happened is, in few days, Indra noticed that Urvashi is not there in his assembly. Okay. Now Indra already at his disposal has unlimited apsaras, unlimited damsels to enjoy, right? These are heavenly prostitutes. So even when one of them was missing, Indra became completely unstable. And he said that in the absence of Urvashi, my assembly is like nothing. It just doesn't feel complete. So he orders his best of his followers, Gandharvas, and says that somehow, please bring Urvashi back to me. This is the nature of the senses. The more you give to the senses, the more the senses will want. And therefore, in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that, senses, fulfillment of the sensual desires is like putting petrol into the fire. It will not kill the fire. It will ignite it high further and further. See, Indra already had so much to enjoy with, but he couldn't even lose sight of one such prostitute, Urvashi. Of course, Urvashi was not an ordinary personality, but still, he had so much. Nonetheless, he became very agitated. And so and this is just in few days, and although so many years have passed here on the earthly realms. So now the Gandharvas, they plot a scheme to get Urvashi back. And so one night, in the Bhagavatam, it is mentioned in the dead of the night, which means Prabhupada says at 12 o'clock in the night. 12 o'clock in the night is called dead of the night. It's called proper midnight. They basically stole the 2 lamps. And when they stole the 2 lamps, then as soon as the lamps were stolen, Urvashi, who was in the same bed with Purūravā, she learnt immediately her lamps are stolen. So she woke up in the bed and she became very angry, and she immediately started to rebuke Purūravā. See, when Urvashi wanted Purūravā so much to enjoy, she had very beautiful words. Now let's see what are her words for Purūravā in this situation where she is now rebuking Purūravā. She says, I am being killed, she says. When her 2 lamps were taken, she says, I am being killed. Because she knew very well that Purūravā is very much attached to me. If something happens to me, it will immediately affect Purūravā. So first thing she says, I am being killed. So immediately Purūravā becomes very tense. What happened to my most beloved? And then she says, you are unworthy. Now to a king who owns the entire earthly systems, she begins with saying, you are unworthy. You are coward. Now this is too much for a king which holds a lot of power, lot of people under him. You are unworthy, you are coward, you are eunuch. That is gone beyond the limits now, right? So he's not just a coward, he's become a eunuch. So eunuch is not even a man, right? So eunuch is between a man and a woman. So it's very shameful to use this word for a king. So then she says, you are not a hero. You know what kind of hero you are. You're not a hero. You are very lazy. You're lying in your bed. And my 2 sons are being taken away. You are lazy. You are lying in the bed. And in fact, you are actually a woman. You're not even a eunuch. You are a woman. So now, kings are very much pride. They have a lot of pride because of their strength, right? Now, eunuch has some more strength than a woman. Usually, women are not considered to be very powerful, at least in those Vedic times. They were not known for their prowess. When I say not known for their prowess, doesn't mean that the women didn't have so much power. They were very, very powerful, way powerful than what most powerful women warriors of today would be. But they were not showing off their power like the way the men would do. Men like to show off their power, their strength, and all of those things. So she called him a woman. This was like the absolute boundary. And she said, you are actually a woman, although during daytime you look like a man. So she basically, left, right, and center, pierced his heart, crushed him like anything. And because of such intense, harsh words, king knew nothing, but the only goal of his life was to bring back those lamps. So he rushed from his bed, not realizing that he has not put back his clothes on. See, he was in the bed with enjoying with Urvaśī, so he had not put his clothes back on with this extreme harsh arrows of criticism. He forgot everything. He just rushed to get those lamps back, and very intelligently, those Gandharvas, they handed over the lamps back to king, but then immediately they started to become very brilliantly lit up. So it said that they were lit up like lightning, and the entire palace was fully lit, like crazily lit. And in this state, Purūravā, he was bringing these two lamps back to Urvaśī in the bedroom. Of course, the bedrooms were massive sizes, like the entire palace would have been a bedroom. So she saw Purūravā from far that he's coming naked. And she had put one condition to her, a condition to him that nekshetva anyatra maithunat. Vivasasam tatha tat eti, that I should not see you. Apart from intercourse time, I should never see you naked. So she was so much angered by this behavior of the king, which was actually no fault of the king, right? He was just trying to help Urvaśī, but it was no fault of the king. But she said, okay, this is enough. You broke, my lamps were stolen. Now you are coming in front of me naked. So I'm no longer wanting to stay with you. I'm going to leave. And she leaves. Prabhupada, in one of the purports, is mentioning difference between the people of heavenly kingdom and people of earth. People of heavenly kingdom eat ghee. They don't eat meat, eggs like that. They eat everything first class, pakka. And, people, even in heavenly planets, they are not dressed scantily. They don't show off their body. Even the best of the damsels, they don't show off their bodies so much like that. But Prabhupada mentions that in the modern day of Kali Yuga, women want to be very scantily dressed. In one of the assemblies, I was hearing from elderly British gentlemen that back in the days, British women would also wear very nice clothing, like a hat and up till the neck, the proper clothing. But as the time passed by in last 50, 60 years, the clothing has changed dramatically. That was their discussion. I'm just mentioning the point. So Prabhupada was mentioning in one of the purports that denizens of heavenly planets, their standard of living is very higher. And in spite of having this very high standard of living, Urvaśī had come to a lower standard of living with an earthly man like Purūravā. So there Prabhupada says that if a woman sees very good qualities in a man, then even though man can be of a very low family, the woman can still marry the man. And similarly, if a woman comes from a very low family, but her qualities are very good, then the man should accept that woman in marriage. So Prabhupada says general principle is that the qualities of man and woman should match. This will make the married life happy. So now, what happens is Urvaśī leaves Purūravā. Purūravā is completely maddened. After spending so much time. See, if you are spending all of your life in Ferrari for 10, 15 years with all the latest and best things, and suddenly you were given a very small broken car, you will have nightmare. You will always tell people how your Ferrari was. Every person that sits next to you, you will tell the story. Once upon a time I had a Ferrari and it was so beautiful. I don't even like this. This is not even my standard. You will always keep complaining and cribbing. So now this was the situation of Purūravā, but the only difference was his attachment was million times more than the example I gave, which was very crude. So in this intense attachment, he started to roam earth like a madman. He was so beautiful, powerful, but now he was roaming the earth like a madman. And after 1 year, somehow, Urvaśī might have seen the dilapidated situation of the king Purūravā. 1 year on earthly planet is 1 day in the heavenly planets. So just within 1 day, Urvaśī thought that, okay, look, this king is gone mad. He's missing me so much. Let me at least go to him. So after 1 year, around Kurukshetra, king sees Urvaśī again. And now he's telling Urvaśī with very calculated words, very measured way. He's speaking to Urvaśī. He's saying, look, Urvaśī, you should not leave your husband, this is not right. but then he is immediately afraid, oh, he said something wrong, maybe she'll go again. His heart is going to be torn apart. So he changes his tone again, and he says, even if you don't consider me a bad, even if you consider that you don't want to live with me, but at least let's just talk with each other for some time. So he's so measured in his conversation with Urvashi, very afraid, very, very afraid that Urvashi might leave. And he's saying that, oh, in your absence, my body will fall like a body of a frail man, and all foxes and jackals will eat it. At this point in time, 3 very beautiful verses were spoken by Urvashi, which brings in a lot of controversy. And so that's why I told this chapter is very enlightening. It could be very controversial. But if you see with the eyes of the spiritual master and the Shastras and the spiritual master and the sadhus, then you will be able to understand these points. Urvashi now speaks something called as Urvashi Gita, which is 3 verses Urvashi spoke, which are 35, 30, so I think it is, 35 onwards. So 35, 36, and 37, I'll recite them. So in verse 35, she says, verse number 36, Urvashi uvacha mamrita purushosi tvam masmatva adyurvrika ime kwapi sakyam navaistrinam vrikanam hridayam yatha. Vrikanam hridayam yatha. Vrikanam means like foxes. So she says that, my king, you're a man, you are a hero, don't be very impatient. Why do you think you are going to die? Why do you think foxes are going to eat you up? Be controlled in your senses. She's saying this to king. In essence, she's saying, why do you have uncontrolled senses? Why don't you control your senses? And see, here is Urvashi, who's the most beautiful woman in heavenly planets, not even on earth, even in heavenly planets. And she was with this king for such a long time. Now she has made him completely mad in separation. And now she is telling him, after 1 long year, she came and she's telling that, why don't you control your senses? How can a person, see, if you are extremely hungry, in extreme hunger, you are just going to eat something. No one is going to tell you, why don't you control your hunger? So she said exactly that to king. So it was again very, very rude, very sharp, that and she says, rather, you should know that the heart of a woman is like that of a fox. There is no use making friendship with women. So here she is speaking, of course, of materialistic women. So, she's saying that there are unlimited desires in the heart of a woman, and she's speaking now in very open nature. She's generally speaking her own nature. She's speaking the nature of a woman. She's taking that materialistic women, their heart is like foxes, and they are very, they're geared by fulfillment of their own desires. That's why she uses the word foxes. Prabhupada says here that unless elevated to spiritual consciousness, everyone is conditioned and fallen. What to speak of women who are less intelligent than men? Now, Prabhupada has said this because this is written in Manu Samhita. Okay? And women have been compared to Shudras, Vaishyas in Bhagavad Gita. On the spiritual platform, however, when one is elevated to the platform of Krishna consciousness, whether one is man, woman, Shudra, or whatever, everyone is equal. So on spiritual platform, Prabhupada makes no distinction between them. But on material platform, Prabhupada is mentioning that there is actually some difference between women and men. And these differences are also mentioned in Bhagavad Gita. Krishna speaks about them. So you can't take these statements very generally. In general sense, Prabhupada is making statements that, look, women are actually low because of their material desires. If man has such material desires, then man can technically be also called as behaving like a woman, even though his body may resemble like a man. And most importantly, when Prabhupada, he came to the West, he saw that women were actually very powerful. And women were able to lead their lives very nicely. So Prabhupada gave lot of leniency for women. And I should not say leniency, he actually considered them at par in many respects to men. And therefore he allowed them to be having their own ashram, like Brahmacharini ashram. This is not allowed in Vedic system. This is just not allowed. And because of this, Prabhupada got criticized very much. And then Prabhupada saw that women are very powerful. They can take many responsibilities. So when he saw that women of West were very different, he actually made them at par with men in many, many areas. But nonetheless, there is always a difference between a man and a woman. When I say difference, there is there is always a difference. So therefore, one cannot understand the spiritual subjects just by on their own strength. Just by reading the scriptures, you can't understand. You have to have an acharya, a spiritual master whose behavior has been followed by many other spiritual masters. So Prabhupada is not an ordinary spiritual master. He is an acharya. He is Prabhupada, which means that at whose feet many other spiritual masters sit. So Prabhupada, through his behavior, he's shown that there is a general statement in Manu Samhita or in other places, but when it comes to application of those principles, you have to apply those principles according to time, place, and circumstances. So whatever circumstance exists now in the West, believe me, in few thousand years' time, the height of men and women will be reduced to like 2 feet, which is written in Kali Santarna Upanishad. The time, place, and circumstance in those times will be very different. And therefore, the application of the same principles will vary slightly. But although the details vary, the principles stand. That women are not same as men. Are women equal to men? Yes, they are equal to men completely on spiritual platform. On material platform, because sometimes women have more material needs, material desires, and therefore women are considered as. But if a man has a lot of material desires, then basically even man can be considered lower. And a classic example of this, there is one verse in Bhagavad Gita where Krishna mentions the qualities of women. That among women I am fame, fortune, fine speech, memory, and intelligence. So fame, fortune, fine speech, memory, intelligence, these qualities are also there in men. But these qualities are very much, when they are seen into a high degree in women, they are very much like, they can be seen very properly, in proper light. But that doesn't mean that men doesn't have those qualities. Men also have those qualities. Similarly, if someone behaves very materially, they are extremely materialistic, the next lifetime they are likely going to get a body of a woman. Really depends on their consciousness and what they have achieved. So here, then she goes on and she says, Striyo hi akkaruna kruraha dhurmarsha priya sah ashaha gnyanti alpa arthe api vishrabdham patim bhratram api yuta. She's saying that women, they are very cruel by nature. And they are cunning in nature. And they are also merciless. See, she's saying these things because she was just very merciless to Purūravā. Just now, Purūravā has seen her after such a long time. And, she knows very well how much attached he is. But yet she is asking him to control his senses. So she says women are cunning, cruel, merciless. And they cannot even tolerate a slight offense. In the modern day, a lot of the women, one of the sannyasis was mentioning that men are half women and women are half men in the modern day Kali Yuga, because both men and women, they go out to work, they both work. So when they come back home, there is no one to take care of each other. So the qualities are getting shared, mixed between man and woman. But if you take a very classic Vedic woman, then if you say anything negative against them, they will become your enemy. They can't take even a slightest offense. And can do anything irreligious, even kill their faithful husband or brother. So if they don't like you, then even they can kill the brother and this is all the nature of women spoken by Urvaśī. Similarly, there is nature of men also can be spoken. That is not described in this scripture, but it is there in other scriptures. So next verse she says, Vidhaya alika vishrambham agneshu tyakta sauhridah navam navam abhipshanta pumsha chalaya swera vrittaya pumsha chalaya, like a prostitute, swera vrittaya, meaning that they are always changing new and new. They want something new all the time. See, generally when a man gets married to a woman, of course man and woman marry, and a woman gets married to a man, there is increase in household. Children are born, new house is bought, new car. So something new has to happen. If nothing new happens in married life, woman becomes very, very angry, agitated, bored, like that. So here, this is what Urvashi is saying, that women are very easily seduced, and they give up friendship even of someone who has been their well-wisher, for a long time. They can easily give up their friendship if someone, like falsely glorifies them. I have seen personally in my own life, if you even falsely glorify someone, they become very happy. And because women are so much in their own body, they're constantly meditating whether they're looking. And I'm not saying men don't do this, like even Bollywood actors, Hollywood actors do this. They're constantly in their bodies, but it is generally pronounced phenomena. It really depends on where the consciousness has evolved unto. Some women are not in bodily consciousness, but I'm very carefully using my words because I know I have seen the differences in the actual practicalities of life. So women, when they are very much in their body, they're constantly thinking about their body. And if someone comes and very much glorifies their body or their dress or their glasses or their face or their hair, oh, very much immediately they become very much enchanted to that person. They smile and they are happy, and they are very easily fooled by that person. It's a very common trick that men use, right? To chase women or to, stalk women. And such women, they easily get attracted to such men, even though such men are, very bad personalities. And so now she agreed to Purūravā that okay, she will so she says all of these things to Purūravā. She knows his heart is so much in distress, and then she says, okay, I'll give you my association once in a year. And when actually Urvashi came down to Kurukshetra to see, she was accompanied with 5 companions. There is no description in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam who these 5 companions were. Clearly, Urvashi is heavenly prostitute, heavenly damsel. So clearly, Indra must be enjoying her. And when she's coming, so Purūravā was so maddened by Urvashi, he had no moral conducts and codes left in his mind. He just couldn't see anything. He just couldn't think anything, that who was Urvashi, what was her dharma, what was she doing. None of it was in his mind. He only wanted association of Urvashi, and Urvashi said, okay, I will come once in a year, say 31st, or I'll come on the 1st Jan of every year, once at the end of the year, she says. And I'll stay with you only for one day. And then we will enjoy on that one night. And then as soon as the morning comes, I'll have to leave. And every year I come, I will give you one son. And even when she met him now, he saw already that she was pregnant. So basically what it means is, she, in her lingo, Urvashi's lingo, it means I'll come and see you every day, because she is in heavenly planets. And in Purūravā's lingo, it means she is going to come after one long year. So Purūravā waits for one long year, meditating on Urvashi for her association. And then when that one long year night comes, he enjoys with her. She gives him a son. From the previous year, she gives him a son, and she enjoys with her. And then as soon as the morning is about to come, he becomes very sorry, and he's begging, and she can see his face. And she also feels like, okay, what should I do, to dispel his unhappiness. And so she says that, okay, you pray to Gandharvas, and Gandharvas will give me to you. And she actually fools him. So he starts to, as soon as she's gone, immediately he starts to pray to Gandharvas. And Gandharvas, as he's doing tapasya to pray and praying to Gandharvas arrive, and they know exactly how lusty this person is. And they know exactly that they can't give Urvashi to Purūravā, because they have master called Indra. And Indra can, without his permission, they can't give Urvashi to Purūravā. So what they do, they trick him. They say that, okay, this is Urvashi, and you can enjoy with her. This is your Urvashi. And they disappear. So now Purūravā takes this person. This person, actually, her name is Agnisthali. And Purūravā, so Gandharvas met Purūravā in forest, because that is where he was doing tapasya for Gandharvas. So there he met Agnisthali, who was looking exactly like Urvashi. And so as soon as Bhagavatam says, they start wandering in the forest, which essentially Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, because Purūravā was so lusty, as soon as he met Agnisthali, he thought of her as Urvashi, and they immediately engaged in sexual activities. And as he was engaged in these activities, he immediately realized that this person was not Urvashi. He wasn't getting the same feelings, the same vibe that he used to get in these activities with Urvashi. And even though she was looking exactly like Urvashi, he immediately knew that this is not Urvashi. This is stated by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakurpad, that, even if someone looks exactly like another person, when you have an intimate relationship and in an intimate connection, you can easily make out who's the person or not the same person. So then he becomes very much distressed again, and he leaves Agnisthali there, and Agnisthali also disappears because she was just created by Gandharvas. And so he goes back to his home very much distressed, and he starts meditating on Urvashi again. No, not knowing what is the solution to his problem, so much distress. And as he's meditating on Urvashi again, there is transitioning of the yugas happening. From Satyuga, Treta Yuga is starting. See, generally when Satyuga comes, Dwapar Yuga comes. Sat means the first Yuga, means one, and then Dwa. Dwa means two. So after one comes two. And Tre means three. So after two comes three. So after Dwa comes Tre. So Dwapar was supposed to Dwapar was supposed to come, but Treta Yuga comes. Why Treta Yuga comes? Because in this dynasty further Lord Krishna will be born, and whenever Lord Krishna comes, there is interchanging of the cycles of Dwapar Yuga and Treta Yuga. So as he is now starting to meditate on Urvashi, the Yuga cycles are changing from Satyuga to Treta Yuga, and in Treta Yuga, Tretayo Yajato Makehe means in Treta Yuga the process was yagyas. If you do yagyas in Treta Yuga, then that is what is the process of Treta Yuga. So as the Treta Yuga was coming, in his heart, when he was meditating on Urvashi, suddenly there was impressions that of yagna, of that he should do some sacrifices, some yagya. And all of this knowledge started revealing to him. So see, someone is in deep meditation, then from within the heart, Paramatma gives the knowledge. Krishna says this in Bhagavad Gita, right? I am seated in everyone's heart. And from me comes knowledge, remembrance, and forgetfulness, 15:15. So from within his heart, he came to know the process of yagya. So he immediately went back to the same place where he was enjoying with Agnisthali, where he was having intercourse with Agnisthali. There he had seen that there was one Shami tree, and from the Shami tree, an Ashwatha tree had come. So he was realizing that where he was having his activities, there is another tree grown. So what he does, he takes this wood of this Shami tree and Ashwatha tree, thinking that these are very potent trees because, their Ashwatha tree had come. And now he takes wood from them and cuts them. It's basically these are arani wood. And then he starts to, and now he knows the process of yagna. So as the Treta Yuga comes, he performs the very first yagya of the Treta Yuga. And in this yagya, he was supposed to meditate on Lord Vishnu. Dhyayatam Vishnum. He was supposed to meditate on Lord Vishnu, but he was so enchanted by Urvashi that throughout the yagya, he had 3 wood pieces. Lower wood piece, arani wood, and then there was a middle wood piece, and there was an upper wood piece, which is arani wood again, which is himself. So he thought of the lower wood piece as Urvashi, the middle wood piece as his son, and the upper wood piece as himself. And he started to rub them. And so that the fire was created, and he considered the fire as his son. So in the Vedas, it is mentioned that you can have son in 3 ways. Shukro Savitro Yagna. Shukro means through semen. Shukracharya. Shukra. Shukra literally word means semen. So you can have through a semen, you can have a son. Savitra, which means through initiation. So when we take initiation from our spiritual masters, we actually become sons of our spiritual master. Our spiritual master actually becomes our spiritual father. And third one is sacrifice or yagna. So these are the 3 processes by which you can actually have a son. And through yagna or through sacrifice, he was considering fire as his son. And so he began to do this yagna. And instead of focusing on Lord Vishnu, actually it was a transition between Satyuga and Treta Yuga. And just now in Satyuga, no one was focusing or meditating ever on anything else other than Lord Narayan. So there is one very beautiful verse mentioned towards the end of this chapter. The verse is verse 48. It says, Eka eva pura veda pranava sarvabanamayaha devo narayano na anya eko agnirvarna eva cha. That in Satyuga, actually there was no meditation on anyone else. Everyone meditated on one personality, Lord Narayan. And there was no varnas. There was no Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishnava, Vaishya, and Shudra. There was only one varna which was called Hamsa. And there was not three Vedas, no four Vedas. There was only one Veda, Atharva Veda. And some say it was Yajur Veda. So Veda was original. It was divided later on by Vyasdev, not in Treta Yuga, in Dwapar Yuga. It was divided into four. So, but in Satyug, it was only one. And therefore, there was only one fire of sacrifice, which was for Lord Vishnu. But now, with the advent of with the advent of Treta Yuga, this personality, Purūravā, he inaugurated he did the very first yajna, and in this yajna, he didn't meditate on Lord Vishnu. He meditated on Urvaśī, on fulfilling his desires. And so this yajna, he laid the foundation of Karma Kanda Yajna. Karma Kanda Yajna means I will do karma, I will do activity, literally, so that I can fulfill my needs or my desires. Kanda means getting the outcome of the desires. So he inaugurated these very bad kind of yagnas. Well, bad in the sense that they are not ultimate kind of yagnas. They are just meant to fulfill your material desires. So he inaugurated this. And then with this fire, Purūravā eva sit traitreta mukhe nripaha agnina prajaya rajan lokam gandharvane ivan. So he thought that Urvaśī is in the planet of Gandharvas. I want to go there so that I can meet Urvaśī. And with doing of this yajna, he attained his destination, which was Gandharva Loka. Although actually there is something called as Vishnu Dhyayatam Yajna, by which actually one is supposed to attain lotus feet of Lord Vishnu. So Purūravā eventually went to the planet of Gandharva. What happened then in the planet of Gandharvas? Did he meet Urvaśī? Did he live with Urvaśī? What exactly happened to him is unfortunately not mentioned in the next chapter. There is a very abrupt stopping here of this pastime of Purūravā. So a very ardent reader, one who is Rasika, will think, what happened to Purūravā? Did he meet Urvaśī or not? He changed whole the meditation process for this one thing. So what happened to him? And Bhagavatam doesn't answer it immediately, because Bhagavatam wants to inspire you, spark your curiosity. And with that, I'll stop. I've gone over time because this, and I have not done justice to this chapter. So my sincere apologies. So I pass it over back to Dharma Prabhu, and we are open for question and answers if we have time. Hare Krishna.
Okay. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. If anyone does have any questions, please raise your hand. So I'll start off first of all. In the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, there are many chapters given to desires, either by a man or a woman, but yet we always constantly talk about the regulatory principles. So how do we understand this through such examples?
Yes, beautiful question. See, Prabhuji, Bhagavatam, no, it is doing a great service unto us by giving us these pastimes of extreme enjoyment. See, by knowing right now you are climbing stairs, right? When you are on the fourth stair, your goal is to reach the last stair, which is possibly the 15th or 18th stair. But on the fourth stair, you can already see what stairs are coming in front of you, right? But unfortunately, human life, even though there are stairs in human life, we can't very clearly and explicitly see these stairs. So, when we get married, first we take birth, there is one stair, then, we grow up another stair, then we go to education system. And all of these stairs are called as samskaras. And all of these samskaras, they have yajna. And, samskara, yajnas for each of us. First food ceremony, first writing ceremony. These are all ladders in human life. And as a child, you actually don't understand you're climbing these stairs. And unfortunately, in human lifetime, you don't even have opportunity to see that on what stair you are right now. But what Bhagavatam does is Bhagavatam is giving you explanation of two types of staircases. One is your life progression, but another is your heart progression. Where are you evolving in your heart? Have you managed to fulfill all your desires? Are you completely captivated and tied by certain desires? Kam, krodh, lobh, moh, matsar, lust, greed, anger, envy, illusion, pride. So Bhagavatam is the story of all of these, and specifically of lust, because Krishna says lust is the most powerful enemy. So here we can see, and there is a story of Yayati which will come soon. And Yayati's story is so brilliant. Yayati went through the extreme pedestal of enjoyment. Thousands of years he enjoyed, doing just one activity. And with the same thing of Purūravā, it's a very simple lesson even to someone on the mortal planet like Earth, that even if you get the most beautiful person in your life, same for a woman, same for a man, you're not going to be in a super happy situation. See, she left Purūravā just on very small thing, that she saw him naked and she left. And this you will oftentimes see, that's when one sex is very much more beautiful, the second sex is always in distress and anxiety. You've seen, the black girls marrying white men, or white man, the black guy marrying a white girl. You can see their state of mind is in so much distress. They're always in anxiety, or whether they are going to ditch me, whether or not. And this is exact anxiety that one can see, that there is a difference in earthly planetary systems where Purūravā was, but he got the ultimate in his life. So as a human being, even if you get ultimate in your life, these are the kind of distresses and anxiety waiting in your way. So this is one such explanation, but there are so many more explanations to this question. The material side is always given, the extreme side is always given, but yet we as readers of Bhagavatam are always asked to follow the regulatory principles, because till the time we have this desire to enjoy this material senses, we are not going to be able to enter Canto 10th. We will listen it, we will hear it, we will know every pastime, maybe we'll know every single shloka, but we will not know Canto 10. And because we will not know Canto 10, we will not know the Supreme Personality of Godhead properly. Because 10th Canto is his beautiful face. Is his beautiful face. To know him properly, you have to know the face of the person, right? The whole life of Parikshit Maharaj was gone searching for that one person. He wanted to see Krishna, and that Krishna is in 10th Canto. But these all cantos are telling us, if you have not burnt out these desires of lust from your heart, then what is going to happen is, when you are going to listen to the pastimes of Krishna, the very intimate pastimes of Krishna in these specific chapters, all that is going to come to your heart is lust. And it will block your entrance from actually accessing the most intimate knowledge of that. So I have not read 10th Canto myself. I am going back to read 1st Canto, because a heart of a reader needs to be completely purified so that they can actually understand the subject matter. And so we are always asked to follow regulative principles, because what will happen if we don't follow regulative? We'll go to one extremes. See, Bhagavatam is already 3 types of students, right? One who learns from examples of others, one who one who understands directly, hears from someone and understands it. Second one is one who sees examples in front of them, understands it. Third one says, no, I don't understand. It's not happened to me, so I'll have to go through it. So what Bhagavatam is in first and second category, it is actually showing you. And if you hear very attentively, the Bhagavatam has full potency to take you and transport you right into the pastime. See, I told you Urvaśī came with 5 companions. I don't know what those companions were. Who is Urvaśī? Who is a damsel prostitute? Of course, as soon as she would have gone to heavenly planets, Indra would have enjoyed her. Yet, Purūravā is not thinking any of these. And how do I have sight of any of these? Because if you hear Bhagavatam attentively, if you hear Acharyas properly, if you read, if you hear from saintly persons, then it has potential. Even though you may be feeble, even though you are weak, even though you are spiritually incapable, yet all of this process has a power to take you and actually put you directly inside the pastime. This is how Satyavrata Muni has sung Damodar Ashtakam. He is in the pastime. He is actually seeing everything happening. He is part of the pastime, and he's put it down. That is Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. So we can't actually see Bhagavatam properly, because our vision is, and to make our vision properly, so that we can actually get into that pastime and specifically the most important pastimes which are about to start, we have to rectify the vision. And therefore, we are shown so much varieties of distress. King Yayati stories, it will make you mad. Yet he achieved the perfection. King Purūravā, this story is abruptly stopped on purpose. I was thinking after reading this, what happened to Purūravā? He wanted Urvaśī so badly. What was Urvaśī like? Even Mitra and Varuna had to discharge their scene. She must be so beautiful. And it's mentioned that she was born of Yagna. So she is definitely not an ordinary personality. So, but what happened to Purūravā? I don't have an answer. And I don't know what happened to him unless I think I read 11th and 12th Canto, which I hope to read in this lifetime. And hopefully one day I'll know what happened to Purūravā. So I hope that answers your question, Prabhuji.
Yeah, thank you, Prabhu. I'm sure I'll have to bring you back to read those or give classes, shall I say. Right. Sadhu Mataji, Sadhu Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you very much for tonight. I have many questions, but I will start here. You mentioned about the desire. Well, it's very important what the desire we have. But I have myself, in my experience, I know many that they desire situation, but they never flourish for them, never. Instead, they were sick, they were lose everything, they were miserable, nothing happened. So I don't understand why we are talking about that desire is very important. It makes it happen. Because I have seen it. It's not always happening.
No, it only happens according to your karma. If your desires match your bank balance, like you want to desire a big house, but your bank balance doesn't match your desire. So a lot of people, they desire, but they don't get it. I've met people who say that, oh, I have, I had played a middleman for a lot of young boy and young girl, and united them, and now they are happily living ever after. They are now married. But my own self, I was wanting this particular woman or man, and I couldn't unite with them. Somehow the relationship didn't work out, and till date they are crying. They're saying that, oh, what was my days for till 12, 15 years, I was so much in love, but their desire never fulfilled, and they're crying till date, Mataji. So the point is, when you have desires, there are two outcomes of desires, Mataji. One outcome is you don't get your desire fulfilled, and for the rest of your life, you are chasing that desire. And the second outcome is you don't have that desire fulfilled. You are trying to chase that desire, but in the process of chasing the desire, you are doing some activity which is completely spiritual. Even without knowledge, you are doing that. And because of doing that just one activity, slowly that desire from your heart is vanquishing, becoming duller and duller, lighter and lighter. This is the case of Yayati Maharaj. He had a strong desire, but while he had this whole desire to enjoy with his wife, this and that, even, took youth of his son, he did one activity. He was always donating to Brahmanas, and he was doing puja at his home, doing yagyas. He was accumulating material for the Brahmanas. So even just by doing something good towards the Supreme Lord, what happened is eventually he had this complete giving up of the desire from his heart to enjoy. So either some people don't fulfill their desires and they crib all of their life and they go down, rot. Some people, they don't fulfill their desires, but they keep doing some good activity in their life, some positive activity, because of which their need for the desire is diminishing over a period of time. And the third category, Mataji, which is if you fulfill your desire, if you get what you wanted. There are a lot of people, it's said that most of the women manage to get their man, but most of the men, they never manage to get the women they want. This is a research I'm quoting. This is not my own thing. So what happens is those people who actually fulfill their desires, they soon realize that this was not so much what I thought it was. But the problem is, because they fulfilled one desire, the carrot is they try to fulfill their next desire. So they start to think that they will start to fulfill all their desires. one after another, one after another. There are
But
very
what I mean, I don't mean only desire for material things or for love or for husband. I'm not talking about that. I mean, I know even person who desire for spiritual activity, spiritual fulfillment. Still, she didn't get it. You know what I mean? So
Yes.
it's not and another thing that I don't know if I understood it right. You say that the situation, the whole situation with karma and everything happened then. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. My son is coming. He has to get the teeth. I'm so sorry.
Okay, no problem. Hare Krishna. So Mataji said, what about spiritual desire not being fulfilled? And I just want to briefly say that, yeah, it is true. Even spiritual desires may not get fulfilled, because when you are in spiritual life, there is always two people, not one person. If you are truly in spiritual life, there is always two people, Krishna and you. And in between, there is spiritual master. So your desire in spiritual life will be fulfilled or not depends on your quality of sadhana, your quality of bhakti, your spiritual master's desires, and also the desire of Krishna. Krishna is mentioned in Bhagavatam as Swarat, which means he is independent. And no one can enforce themselves upon Krishna. Krishna has amazing qualities, but Krishna, if you have, by mistake, if you have created offenses, even without your knowledge, this is where also your desires don't get fulfilled. And classic example is Rupa Goswami. He by mistake offended. He smiled when one of the brahmanas had, the brahmana was he was not able to walk properly. He had some debilitated situation with his leg. So when he came to Rupa Goswami was in deep meditation of Srimati Radharani, and he was smiling. And he was seeing the pastime and he was smiling. Where Radharani was, Krishna left the branch of the tree and Radharani is now hung from the tree. So Rupa Goswami was seeing that he was in that pastime. He started smiling, and at that time this Brahmana came, and so he took offense. This ailing Brahmana, he took offense. And so next day onwards, Rupa Goswami couldn't see any pastime of the Lord. He couldn't get into any pastime of the Lord. So he reached out to his elder brothers sorry, not Rupa Goswami. Sorry, yeah, Rupa Sanatan, yeah. Yeah, Rupa Goswami. So he reached out to Sanatan Goswami's elder brother and asked him what was the case. And Sanatan Goswami said, you organize for a feast for all the Brahmanas. Then we will know it. So he organized feast for all the Brahmanas, and one Brahman didn't turn up. So this is how Rupa Goswami knew that this Brahmana is offended. So he went to him and he asked him, why did you not come, and have I offended you? And he said that I was there. I came to you, and instead of listening to me, you actually mocked me. And Rupa Goswami begged him. Immediately Rupa Goswami is an acharya. He's one of the six. He fall flat at the feet of this Brahmana.
But we are talking about without knowing it.
Even without knowing. This is what I'm saying.
Is it just to have without knowing it, to be punished even when you don't know that you have done it?
Yeah, this is on high levels, Mataji. High level, when I'm speaking of entering the pastimes of the Lord. When you are at neophyte and middle level of existence, then Krishna is very merciful to you. If someone has committed an offense unknowingly, Krishna doesn't take serious offense on that. But as you go higher in your existence, when you go higher and higher in your existence, your consciousness expands. And in this expanded consciousness, you can understand the feelings and pains of everyone. We are not at that stage. We are at a stage of neophyte and middle, not Uttama Adhikari. We are Madhyam Adhikari or Kanishta Adhikari, middle or lower middle. So in this stage, we may commit a lot of offenses without our knowledge. And Krishna doesn't charge you for that. He doesn't. But of course, if you have committed something serious offense, then Krishna will take note of that. And Krishna will rectify you. And this is during the rectification process. You may not feel that you are doing so much the spiritual progress, but Krishna is not responding to you. You may feel that I didn't get my desires. I didn't get my spiritual desires. Because this is the period of tapasya you are going through. Once your period of tapasya finishes, then suddenly you will see Krishna responding to you. And many devotees have said that for 5-10 years, their japa didn't make any connection with them. And suddenly after 10 years, it made connection. Then they realized that 10 years ago, they made some serious offense. and because of this offense, they were not able to chant their japa properly. They were chanting, committedly chanting their 16 rounds, but they were not getting so much taste as they used to get before. So after 10 years, they knew it, they rectified it, and now they got the taste again. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Shanti Chauhan Prabhu, I believe that I saw your hand up. Would you like to ask your question, please? Hare Krishna.
Yeah, I'm Shraddha. That's my.
Oh, sorry, Mataji. Shraddha Mataji, go ahead.
It's okay. I think this half of the question is already answered within the this question. But my question is just like for the parents of these days, if they will hear, suppose they haven't heard a lot of kathas, but suddenly they went with the parents they heard this chapter katha, yeah, and they can, if they are the wrong path, wrong path, when like for us, like Urvaśī and Purūravā steps they're taking, yeah, and if the parents say to the children, look, this is the wrong, you're doing it, this is not right, the way you want to go, and then they can say, look, this is your Bhagavatam say that, why, how come it's wrong for us? So
Yes.
how the parents can convince to the children in this case?
You should tell them that you should also read first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth canto of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, what is given there. Don't just take one pastime. Just read the Bhagavatam know the Bhagavatam in its entirety. So even in this pastime, when all of these things are mentioned, Prabhupada in purport is clearly mentioning what is right, what is wrong.
Yeah.
So that's what is important.
That's okay. Because these days the children can like argue.
Argue.
Like anything.
That's why you need to they need to hear Bhagavatam from right people.
Right.
We should not go and speak Bhagavatam to them when they're not going to take anything from us anyway, because they are not listening to us on ordinary things. Why would they hear from us on spiritual things?
Yeah.
If they are listening to us on ordinary things, if they are very obedient and listen to us, then they might be in a situation. So always get them to hear from someone that they have respect for, like sannyasis, like brahmacharis, or like good friends.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much, Guru. Thank you.
Okay. And finally, Janakanya Mataji, would you like to ask your question, please?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you for a wonderful class. I'm just thinking about the seriousness of the frenzy. They both are in frenzy, angry and violent to each other in words, I suppose. Maybe, who knows, is physical as well. So I'm thinking about King Purūravā, yeah? He actually, there must be some kind of 99%, not 99, maybe not, whatever percent of credit he has, he's actually been able to follow the rules, get Urvaśī, Indraloka, and he performed sweetness by, but it was only temporarily. And I'm thinking about the lessons here. He broke the rules and he lost it all. So what level of intelligence is that? I'm thinking about 99% is not performed well. They broke the rules big time, both of them. They should be both fallen, shouldn't they? And it sounds like there was 1% kept them going. So I'm just wondering about, it's contrasting with Raghu, Nuga, and the gopis. The gopis don't follow rules for Urvaśī. They forget rules for Krishna. So it's about conditional. You don't build your bed on conditional planet. You build your heart for the person who never leaves. So both of them walked off, didn't they? And it's like in a frenzy they behave very, very unpleasantly. And they were attacking each other, and so much so that he got himself in such a state, he ended up being naked, which is the worst thing you could do, I suppose.
Purūravā never attacked Urvaśī, but Urvaśī did attack Purūravā oftentimes. And unfortunately, I'm not in a position to compare Purūravā Urvaśī with gopis, which is a grave offense, I think. mainly because that is completely spiritual subject matter, which I don't understand. Topic of gopis, and definitely I have some understanding of Purūravā and Urvaśī, which is a very much a materialistic union, extremely material. And in this materialistic union, everything happens, right? In materialistic union, there is fights, and I don't think it was physical at any point in time, not mentioned in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. It was, of course, verbal, but verbal is more dangerous than physical. Of course, physical is not recommended, not written, not permitted, but verbal was also very, very deadly. The words of Urvaśī were always her actions were very harmful, and she is very much revealing her own nature and the general nature of these kind of women that she is referring to.
Yeah, and relationship with Krishna, you have no conditions and no expiry date.
Exactly.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.